I'm telling you facts, so I don't give two shits about politics. You know what I mean? But I care about kids' safety, and that's something Democrats can't put aside. They can't make school safety nonpartisan issue.
I'm Mindy Robinson. You're watching Red, White, and FU, Unapologetically Patriotic. Today we have a very special guest, Andrew Pollack, father to Meadow. He's been very, very active trying to keep our children safe, trying to change what happened to Parkland from ever happening again. He's got a lot of ideas. He's been very active, and we have a few questions from today. So thank you for coming on the show, Andrew.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mindy. Thank you.
No worries. So one thing I'd like to talk to you about, they started, I believe it was in Texas, to have armed veterans protect our children in our schools. How do you feel about that?
Well, what we did, after my daughter was murdered, we got a bill passed in Florida. And part of that bill was named after one of the security guards, like Coach, that rushed into the building unarmed to save kids. And he gave the ultimate sacrifice. He got murdered that day. He was killed. His name was Aaron Feiss. So part of the bill that I helped get passed was to arm personnel in the schools. And that there was like millions of dollars put into that bill for training to train the right people to work at schools. And even when we went further, they put a commission together in Florida to look into the multiple failures that happened. And there was 14 commissioners on that committee, and 13 out of the 14 voted that we need to have armed personnel at the schools. And I'm all for it because the way we do it in Florida is it's pretty extensive training. It's about 150 hours of training where they're held to higher standards in accuracy than deputies. That they put through psychologicals just like police officers would be. And, most shootings are over in 4 minutes. So we need someone to act right then and there when something happens if we want to keep our kids and teachers safe. And who's at the school? We have to train the people that are at the schools. And we live in a messed up society that's not getting better. So we really need to be proactive and train the people in the schools that want to get trained. These liberals, they're always knocking it. We don't want to arm teachers. We don't want those teachers armed. We want the few that want to voluntarily go and take this class and learn how to protect yourself and the children in a school. That's who we want. So I'm all for it. Florida's doing a lot, moving forward with our great governor. We got a Republican state. We scathed the bullet here in Florida. We have a great Republican governor, 2 Republican senators, and we control the Senate and the House. So we're getting a lot of things done. When Republicans are in control, you can get a lot of things done, and that's what Florida's doing.
I can't say the same for California, but no, I think it's a great idea. We use armed guards to protect, people collecting money, banks, jewelry. Why wouldn't we use them to protect our children? I mean, if anything, and I'm sorry we live in this world where we have to think like this, but you create these soft targets when you have gun-free zones. Like, I'm a concealed carrier. I get nervous when there's a gun-free zone, but they're not checking anyone. I don't mind going through a gun-free zone if they legitimately check everyone that goes through it. But when you're like, law-abiding people can't carry, and then what are you left with? Like some kind of trust system for people willing to break it anyway. So I think it's a great idea. I think in other states they've been using veterans, and that kind of repurposes them. They have the experience. They have a lot of time. They too should also have to go through all the mental requirements. I love veterans. They do get crazy sometimes, and I think they'll understand, that kind of thing. But I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great idea what you're doing. Is there anything my followers, people watching the show, can do to help? Is there someone they can write? Is someone that they can reach out to, to help this along, to support it?
Well, if they live in California, there's probably not much they could do, the way your state is.
You can annoy people on Twitter and still get stuff done, apparently. So you'd be surprised what you could do on a national level if there's enough outrage about it, so you can play that game.
Your state's more concerned about straws than they are about the safety of kids, right, in schools.
Oh yeah,
California.
yeah. You can give someone AIDS on purpose, but you
Yeah.
can't buy a dog anymore. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, you know what I tell parents is you gotta, like me, I thought I have to live with this the rest of my life. I sent my daughter to a school I thought she'd be safe, and evidently they're not. She wasn't safe in that school. They were allowing, they have these leniency policies that still are in place that came from Obama that they don't hold kids accountable that commit multiple crimes. And so I didn't know about these policies in those schools. That's how this kid was able to go to school with my daughter. He brought dead animals to school. He wore swastikas on his clothing. He had the N word. He threatened people's lives with never ever being arrested. Trespassed at the school. So these policies create an unsafe environment, and I would tell parents throughout the whole country to look into your school district to see if they participate in it. Our president doesn't get much acknowledgement, but recently he had a federal safety commission put together, and he put an end to those policies, those Obama era leniency policies. He ended it, but schools could still participate in it if they want to. So parents, they need to get involved and see if they have those policies in their schools.
Well, I agree. I think another important thing is, I grew up, we always had that kind of off kid. Why isn't there more recourse? Like, you're right. How did he go through the cracks that badly? Who do you think was ultimately responsible on an administrative level for what happened?
Well, we have a superintendent in Broward County. His name's Robert Runcie. He actually came from Chicago, uh, where he knew Obama. He knew Arnie Duncan, who was the secretary, and he also knew Eric Holder. And he brought these policies to Broward of not arresting kids. He wanted to stop the school to prison pipeline. But when you don't hold kids accountable while they're juveniles, you actually create the school to prison pipeline because when they get out of school, they've never been held accountable. They don't know what it's like to be involved in the judicial system. So they're committing crimes and getting felonies when they're older, and then by then it's too late.
I agree. Well, hopefully things do improve. I'm glad you live in Georgia now. Is it any better, or are you still facing the same issues?
Yet I didn't pick it yet. I got an RV, and we're traveling around. Checking out different areas. I'm at a buddy's in Noonan, Georgia, right now. But we're going to go somewhere rural. That's Republican. You know, I, and we're searching. Meanwhile, we still got a lot of work to do in Florida. We got a grand jury recently. Recently, I got the sheriff removed in Broward County. That Sheriff Israel, he was removed. Supervisor of elections, she was removed, and now the governor just dropped the grand jury investigation into the school board to see all the incompetence and mismanaged funds and the policies. He's looking into all that. So we'll be getting rid of some more people, and all the people that we've been removing are all Democrats, and that's just the way it plays out. At the end of every entity that there was a failure is an unethical Democrat in Broward.
Couldn't say it better myself. Well, thank
Well,
you, Andrew. Thank you for coming in and
I'm telling you
letting
facts.
us enjoy lunch with you, really.
I'm telling you facts, so I don't give two shits about politics. You know what I mean? But I care about kids' safety, and that's something Democrats can't put aside. They can't make school safety nonpartisan issue. They got to bring the gun debate into it, and when they bring the gun debate into school safety, it just it distracts from us fixing the schools because now they're just focusing on guns. Well, after 9/11, there wasn't a gun debate. When they fixed the federal buildings, there wasn't a gun debate. All of a sudden now we want to protect our children, and they make it a gun debate. So leave the gun issue out of it and just fix the schools.
I agree. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And can you tell our followers where to find you online?
Sure. The best, I like to educate parents, so I like to put a lot of stuff in there that could educate them so if things don't happen to them, what's happened to me and my family. So my Twitter is Andrew Pollack FL, and on Facebook it's Andrew Pollack Parkland Parent, and that's my go to the public page, not the personal. So it's Parkland Parent, Andrew Pollack, and I post a lot of stuff for parents to read on there to educate themselves, so they can know what to look for in their school district.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. I saw the thing with the canine. That was interesting.
With the canine, what'd you
Yeah.
say? The dog?
They were training canines to take down school
So
shooters.
I was just on the phone with them. That dog is going to graduate in March, March 8th in New Jersey. So Fox, I'm going to be on Fox, and we're going to do the graduation with that dog, and we're going to show some drills, and then I'll be in the studio in New York on March 9th for a live interview.
That's
But
awesome.
it's interesting. Dogs, there's plenty of humans failed my daughter that day. If there would have been a dog at that gate, the shooter never would have got into that school.
Well, thank you for joining us, Andrew, and keep up the fight. And thank you for helping us keep American children safe.
I'm going to do what I can for everybody.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Mindy Robinson, and you're watching Red, White, and FU, Unapologetically Patriotic.